Jesus, folks, we're already off to a great start because it is snowing today. I think it's funny that just in last night's upload, I talked about how, you know, it was snowing, but we've had a few nice days. Hopefully it will stay nice. And then last night it's like, oh, fuck you, we're gonna snow again. However, good afternoon and welcome to the channel. You are watching Street Speed 717. My name is Mike, and today we are going to do something fun. I don't really mind the snow that much. I mean, the big thing for me is the cold. I don't like the cold. Which I guess kind of goes hand in hand with the snow. On a little bit more of a somber note here, I do want to take a moment in light of the events of last night's video. I want to take a moment of silence for the victims of the 570S.
Dude, this car is literally on fire.
Because she is still undefeated, motherfucker. I think because Nick has failed, and Jack has failed, and Shay has failed, I think the only person who can beat the McLaren is me with my other car. When I get the Z06 back from RPM, I will construct a race of the two somehow. Speaking of a moment of silence, by the way, the McChicken is outside. I would also like us all to observe a moment of silence for the Ford GT, which was embarrassed today as the ZR1, which is roughly $130,000, and the GT is $500,000. The ZR1 completely embarrassed the Ford GT's lap time around VIR. We all know, I mean, the GT is a very cool car. Don't get me wrong, it's super rare. It's gonna retain its value way better than a ZR1, and that is a fact. And also, you know, the GT has always kind of been a letdown, really. And I'm not saying this because I'm not a Ford guy. I don't, you know, I like Fords, I love the Raptor. Mustangs are great cars. But, you know, it took so long to come out, and the hype just isn't worth it. I mean, for example, a McLaren 570S is about right on par with it. A McLaren 720S destroys it in everything, straight line, track, whatever. The 720 and the 570 are cheaper than a GT by quite a bit. I mean, even a fully loaded, you know, MSO options everywhere 720 is like 420 grand. And again, a GT is $500,000. But I think it's very cool and worth mentioning that the ZR1 beat it as well, because that shows us this ZR1 is no fucking joke, and it is punching well above its weight in the world of supercars. Makes me all the more excited to get mine in like 2 months. I do, however, have some bad news about our loaner truck, this beautiful 2018 High Country, which I definitely do not want to get rid of, has to go back either tomorrow or the next day. So we are going to be saying goodbye. Holy shit, it's windy. We are going to be saying goodbye. Once again, a huge thank you to SUTLIFF Chevy for allowing me to borrow this truck. It was great. Never mind, actually it wasn't great, because now I really want a new truck. I mean, just everything, like the little stuff, like a power outlet and the wireless charging pad. I mean, it is just a great vehicle, and yeah, I really am going to miss it. Once again, if you do in fact need a new truck or used truck, they have those too. Check out SUTLIFF. They are good people, and you know, they will take care of you. Anyway, now let's do a quick cut to some McLaren tunnel runs. Check it out, boys. We got a Chrysler Crossfire up ahead. Now, you don't see these often. I'm surprised Doug DeMuro hasn't done a video on one of these yet, which I'm sure he will. Doug, there's an idea for you, not that you watch my videos, but a Chrysler Crossfire, always a very weird thing. I think briefly they did have an SRT6 version of that car, which was pretty quick, and you could get them with a 6-speed manual if I'm not mistaken. So Chrysler, you know, you always had some fun ones there, like the Prowler and this one, and then the PT Cruiser, which was just miserable. But there you go, I rarely see these. Well, we got a very clear Mexican road here, boys, and you know what that means. So we are once again back at home, and I would like to apologize for the fact that, yes, the vlog is all over the place. You know, I've just been doing all kinds of shit, and you know, it's totally random what's going on, but I still wanted to give you guys some cool car content, which is why we took the McLaren out for some fun runs. But anyway, now we're gonna move on to a Q&A to finish up the video, and then tomorrow we're taking the McChicken to the dyno. Should be very interesting. All right, so we are going to finish up with a Q&A. As always, if you would like to participate in the next one, feel free to follow me at StreetSpeed717 on Instagram. And what I will do is post up a picture and tell people to ask their questions below. Starting with number one, JoeSue701 has this symbol emoji. Jake4048 says, hello, Jake. White truck power, that's racist, says first. Blake Cunningham 5, any more modifications for the McLaren? Well, I have the exhaust. Now, if a company comes out with a good tune, see, the problem right now for McLarens is that a lot of companies offer a tune, but you either pick up power in the mid-range and it falls flat on its face up top, or you pick up power up top and you lose mid-range. So there's not really a great tune out there yet. If a company comes along and makes good power everywhere across the band, I would tune my 570. Did you ever play sports? I didn't really play much sports. Soccer when I was a kid. Didn't really play many sports. What's a good starter car? Really, I like rear drive. So when people ask me what's a good first car, I always say get a truck, like a pickup truck. As weird as it sounds, it's great to learn the basics of rear drive with a truck. You have no weight over the back. You can have fun with it. And it's usually going to be slow. You can't get in trouble with it. But some good ones, like a C5 Corvette, super cheap. You know, I wouldn't recommend that for like a kid in high school because it is a bit to handle, a C5, even though it's not, you know, we look at power numbers today and it's like every car out there has 500, 600, 700, and you forget how much 300 in a relatively light car, you forget how much that is. So, you know, a C5, if you are comfortable with it, even a Mustang, you know, you can get like the S197 generation Mustangs for really cheap now. And they're a great car, fun little platform. I mean, the 3-valve 4.6 is a bit of a dog, but it's still, you know, torquey enough to have fun. Grant Palace, did you go to college? If so, where? I went to my local community college in Penn State, Harrisburg. Maddie Adams, if you could only have one vehicle, what would you want? That's a tough one, but I would choose a truck because, you know, a truck does everything. A truck like my Duramax is cool. You know, I can still take it to Cars and Coffee and not have something boring and, you know, people would still be interested. But especially for me, because I live in Pennsylvania, I have to have something that is practical all the time. I would love to have a McLaren, but if it snows even a little bit, I'm fucked. So I kind of have to choose a truck. Ola Banson 24, have you ever set off the lunk alarm at Planet Fitness? I have not set off the lunk alarm, and I do work out at Planet Fitness, although I get roasted for it. The problem is I'm also a member of Gold's, but Gold's has weird hours, at least the Gold's near me, so they close at like 5 on the weekends. And with my schedule, you know, my whole day is taken up by filming. I edit at night, taken up by filming. I don't know if I said the right word there. My whole day is taken up by filming, and then I edit at night. So for me, sometimes I don't get to the gym till like midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning. So Planet works for me. Will you be doing stuff with Andy and Max? Well, Max, of course, has moved on from DFR, but yeah, Andy and I, we talk on a regular basis. We are definitely friends. We will, I think, be both at Motorama. I'm pretty sure he's coming to Motorama, and you know, I'm sure we will make videos in the future. Will you ever go for bigger turbos on the 570? I would. Again, that's one of those things, if a company comes out with them and they're making power and they got a tune, I would definitely do that. Jake says, same guy actually, how are the Bulldogs? They are great. Thoughts on the ZR1 beating the GT? I think we talked about that, but to go a little bit more in depth, here's some facts. You know, Ford claims that they weren't really trying for a lap record when they set the production car lap record at VIR. I kind of think that's sort of bullshit. I mean, they were using a professional Ford racing driver, whereas actually in the ZR1, that was not Chevy's best like lap time record driver that they were using. So I don't know if I trust Ford with that. At the same time, I'm sure Ford could go back and get a better time than they had. So it would be neat to see, you know, the two battle it out. And I think the really telling thing will be the Nürburgring time. I know that the Chevy team, the Corvette team, is shooting for a sub 7-minute lap, which would be crazy, and I hope they get it. That would be awesome. But I have to say, I'm pretty impressed. You know, when the numbers came out for the ZR1, and I found out the horsepower numbers and the weight, I was like, oh, I don't know, it's going to beat the ACR, how good's it going to be? But the fact that it beat the ACR at VIR pretty good by about 2 seconds, and the fact that it beat the GT, you know, I find that to be very impressive. So I'm actually a lot more excited about the ZR1 now than I was. I mean, I'm getting more and more excited about it. Not that I wasn't excited to begin with, but I think it's very, like I said, very impressive. And I can't wait to get mine, and I can't wait to see what it does at the Nürburgring. That is going to be the big thing. Matthew Lorenzo, what color would you get for the 720S? I'm not sure. I would like either the really light green, which I forget what McLaren calls it, but for Lamborghini, it's Verde Scandal. It looks like that. And I forget, what is the Lamborghini or the McLaren color? Troy talks about it all the time. I forget. Will you buy a C6 ZR1 at some point? I don't think so. I'm kind of on to the C7 generation. I might go back and get an older vet at some point to fuck around with, like the C5, but we'll see. When is the guy coming to pick up the C5? This guy is referring to the giveaway winner. We gave away a C5 Corvette, and we are going to be doing a C7 Corvette giveaway, the teal one that is at Shane's. That should be awesome. Can't wait to give that away. But the winner of the C5 is coming to pick it up after Shane wraps it. He's in the process of wrapping it. And then I said that I would buy him one free modification for the car. And of course, he chooses a Pro Charger, which I will do. And once it's wrapped, he's going to have to organize with RPM to see when he wants to go and get the car worked on, you know, what fits his schedule. And then when he and RPM work that out, I will just, you know, pay the bill for it or whatever. But I'm very excited to meet him and give him the car and actually get this thing underway. How many call-outs? Okay, this is a good one. I wanted to talk about call-outs, actually. How many call-outs do you have planned for this year? How many drag races and how many road courses? Well, we're not sure on the number of road courses versus drag tracks yet, but we are going, our plan is to host a call-out every month, once a month, starting in April. So April, May, June, July, August, September, and potentially October. So we'd like to have 7. They're always a huge success. If you haven't seen them or you are new to the channel, I'll put kind of a highlight video at the end of this upload to show you what it's all about, but it's a ton of fun. Everyone enjoys it. As you can tell by the fact that we have 7 planned, we are going to have a few. Now again, like I said, I'm not sure on how many are going to be drag races and how many are road courses. Last year we did 2 and they were both drag races just because You know, that was the first year. We didn't even know we were going to do 2. So this year we would like to do road courses as well. Maybe at some point, maybe next year or something, we do drift events as well. I mean, the possibilities are endless. For this year though, I know we can, I know that we definitely plan to do drag races and road course races. Do you let your girlfriend drive your cars? Yes, she does. When are you going to California with Parker? At some point. When are you going to build the garage? So this is my 3-car garage here in my home, but I am going to build a little auxiliary garage with an 8-foot door and a wider door for my Duramax, and it will most likely be a 2-car so that I can put vehicles in there, because I got the McLaren, I got the Corrado over there in the corner, I got the Z06, the ZR1 coming, and the truck. That's 5. So I just have too many cars. Would you ever LS swap the Corrado? I would. I thought about it. LS swap, rear drive swap, that would be a badass little machine, because they only weigh about 2,700 pounds. Weston FR, what date is the call out, or ballpark me the answer? It's going to be late April, and each one is going to be late in the month, giving everyone a month in between. So it's going to start late April, and they're going to be, you know, late April, late June, late August, late July, whatever. You know, every month is going to be late in the month. What do you think about the new GT500? I'm very excited. You know, I've always, despite the fact that I make fun of Fords and some people get really butthurt, but that's just because it's fucking fun. But, you know, I've always liked Mustangs, like I just talked about, for the first car. I think they're great cars for the money, and I'm excited to see what the GT500 is going to be all about. Buying a Harley Davidson anytime soon? No, I'm not into Harleys at all. That's not my thing. I like street bikes to an extent. But even them, you know, I had a Gixxer when I was 18. I wrecked it and never got on a bike again. They're just too dangerous for me. If you ever got rid of the 570, what car would you replace the 570 with? That would be a 720, or potentially, there's rumors about a 600 Longtail. So you guys know the McLaren 650S, and then after that came the 675 LT. Well, the 600 Longtail would be kind of a the same thing. So it would be a 570 underneath, but with more power and maybe some aero. So I don't know, if that comes to fruition, I would love to check that out, but it would most likely be a 720. What's your opinion on putting a smokestack in the Dirty Max? I like stacks, they're kind of neat, but I like the ability to roll coal on people if I want to. And the stack, I don't want to cut through my bed. Do you like Stevie Ray Vaughan? I don't even know who that is. Which one would you choose, 720, P1, or F1? That's a tough one. I would probably choose a 720 because it's just so great. The F1's cool, but it's like a little bit too old to drive every day. The P1 is neat, but I'm not a fan of the hybrid power, to be honest with you, and I think a 720 is fast. I think, although McLaren will never admit it, I think a 720 might be faster than a P1. So I hope you enjoyed this little Q&A, and I hope you enjoyed the video overall. If you are stopping in for the first time, please subscribe. If you did enjoy, give it a big thumbs up. Take care, have a great day, and enjoy this call-out video.
So where are we right now?
We're at Cecil County Dragway in Cecil County, Maryland.
Give us for everything that we're doing, the racing. You have no idea what it means to us. The very first place prize is
Was this better than the last one?
That's a tough question.
And where's your car?
Not here.